I'm 31F, leaving my husband, 31M, and my church. I was raised and grew up in a very conservative, very religious household and community. It was to the point where everything and everyone's purpose was to serve our religion and our community. I was homeschooled all the way up until college, and then the college I attended was a small school run by members of the same group. To say I was sheltered is very much an understatement. I met my husband there, another devout believer like me. We dated, which mostly consisted of attending prayer services together until we finished school, and then we immediately married. I became a school teacher, and his work required occasional travel, but we made a happy life together, never really leaving the confines of our community. A little over a year ago, that was all turned upside down. My husband was offered a very high-paying job in the suburbs of a fairly major city. It would require him to travel a bit more, but we'd be substantially better off. We talked about it and decided to do it, especially since there was also an opening at a school in the area where we were moving. So we set it all up, he took the job, we bought a new house, and I was hired to teach at this new school. Once I started working there, I was hit with quite a bit of culture shock. All sorts of new ideas, people, and beliefs were coming at me quicker than I really had time to process. It was very overwhelming at first, especially since I'd rarely ever had to deal with someone even outside of our religion. So, to shorten this up a little and get to my point, eventually I started to come around to question some of the things I'd been taught, and I'd believed all growing up. Specifically, I met a male colleague who was just very different. He was charming, confident, witty, intelligent, and, honestly, attractive. And he believed none of what I did. We had amazing discussions and debates during our shared lunch together. I realized eventually that I wasn't really sure how much of what I believed. I wasn't sure if I'd ever really thought hard about it, and now that I was questioning. I found myself talking about subjects I'd never talked about, laughing at jokes that would have horrified previous me, but I also found myself happier than I was, even though I had thought I was happy. All of this was, of course, without my husband's knowledge. He is, was, and always will be a true believer. Recently, it's made me think less of him, both intellectually and physically. On top of that, I think I also have feelings for my coworker. To sum it all up, I'm not really sure if my husband and I have anything in common beyond our religion, and meeting someone new has opened my eyes to that, and to perhaps my being a different person than I thought I was even, and I'm not sure what to do at all. Update 1. We haven't been fighting about our differences, but I've been questioning my faith and unhappy with our marriage and my religious beliefs for some time. When I first went to him to try to work through these issues, he suggested I have a Zoom meeting with our pastor. I felt shamed and coerced into abandoning all the questions, concerns, and doubts I was having. I went to talk to my husband one more time before I made my decision. I asked him what he would think if, hypothetically, I still was unsure about our religion and the dynamics of our marriage. His response was something I'd been fearing in the back of my mind. He said he had been worried ever since we moved that I might not be able to handle living away from our families and our community. He also said that he'd been missing his own family anyway, and that at the end of the semester, I'm a teacher, he wanted us to move back home. Once we were back home, he said we'd be better able to work through my problems. It was the absolutely last thing I wanted to hear. I love my job, I love my students, and I love all the non-religious aspects of my life. I decided to take some of the advice I received on here earlier. I pretended. I pretended that I was okay with that decision, and I pretended to pray with my husband about it. The next day, I went to my coworker, who I have become close to and good friends with. Some online commenters have suggested too close with, and told him what happened. He asked me what my thoughts were about all of it, and I kind of emotionally unloaded on him. I even cried a little, which was a bit embarrassing. He was perfect though. He and I came up with a plan. Knowing I get paid every 2 weeks, after my next paycheck came, he helped me set up a new bank account with direct deposit of my check. He talked to his sister, and her husband are going to let me stay at their house while I save up enough money on my own to afford a temporary place. He helped me talk to the administration at my work about what was going on, and to not let my husband or anyone they didn't know to have access to the building or to my information. He also put me in contact with a divorce lawyer, and I have just begun that process. I've also spent the last few days sneaking out some of my clothes into my classroom, so that when I do finally leave next week, I won't have to have left everything behind. My husband leaves for a work trip on Monday for a day and a half. I'll be leaving him a note and moving out then. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I know I'll have to have absolutely no contact with my family and my friends from back home. I know my husband will be upset and probably even blindsided. I know some people will see this as a cowardly way to go about leaving my husband, and some of you will be disappointed that I'm not making more of an effort to work it out with him. But I really think this is the best for both of us. I'll be working to save up enough money to get a new place to live and to begin therapy as soon as I can. Update 2. I did it. I packed up as much of my stuff as I needed and wanted, wrote him a very long note that really detailed all my thoughts and feelings and explained why I was leaving like I was, and I left. I've been in contact with and consulting a divorce lawyer. I really don't want anything from him other than a divorce and to be left alone. And I made my first appointment for therapy, which will start in a couple weeks. I went and bought a new phone and brought my life to my co-worker's sister's house. Her and her husband are lovely and incredibly fun and nice people. They have a really big house and set me up with my own bedroom that has a little living room and bathroom attached. It's cozy. We all had dinner together, and I really felt like I could be myself, whoever I wanted to be around them. I don't know how to describe what I feel. I'm really nervous most of all. A lot could happen when my soon-to-be ex-husband comes home tomorrow. I'm nervous that I'll quickly become a burden on my new roommates, I guess I'll call them. I'm also excited that for once, I feel free. It was like a huge weight had been lifted off of me. As soon as I stepped out the front door, I felt relief. But I also felt sadness for leaving behind a chapter of my life like this. I haven't been able to sleep much tonight in this new place with new noises and a new bed, and maybe some shreds of guilt, but I think once I do finally fall asleep, I might sleep for 2 days, LOL. I don't know what will happen next. I know I want to save my money and buy my own car and find my own place to live, but I mostly just want to be free from my old life. Other than that, I just don't know yet. Update 3. My husband has not been able to contact me because of my new phone number. My work was able to give me a new email address as well, which he doesn't have. Things were mostly quiet until Friday, when an envelope showed up in my school mailbox with my name on it and no return address. Inside was the letter I had left for him detailing why I was leaving him and why I was going about it the way I was. He had handwritten some things to me at the end. Basically, he said he would respect my wishes not to contact me. He was going to tell everyone back home that I had been tempted by the devil and was abandoning him. It said that he was only ever trying to save his soul and my soul from hell. He wrote that he was sad a little, but that he was mostly disappointed I was walking away from our most sacred bond, and from my even more sacred bond with God. He wrote that in God's eyes, we would always be married, and that no legal court or lawyers could put an end to that. He finished that thought by telling me I had better not date, kiss, sleep with, or marry someone else, because then I'd be irredeemably sinning. It closed with, God still loves you. I hope you see the error of your ways. I have to be honest, it made me a little bit sad in the moment. I'm trying to be strong and do what I know is best and right for me, but that brought up a lot of feelings of guilt and shame. I was able to talk through some of that with my coworker as he drove me to his sister's house after work. I start therapy in about a week, so I hope to also work out those feelings then too. As for how the living arrangements have been, they have been kind of awesome so far. We have dinner together every night and chat and enjoy one another's company. They have a lovely little girl who has taken a liking to me. I offered to pay them rent money and help out around the house when I can. They absolutely refused to take any money from me, but said that I could help out wherever or whenever I thought I needed to. I'm still getting used to trying to be independent and thinking for and of myself first. I have to say, I kind of like it. LOL. Even though it's not always the easiest, and I have many moments of doubts, sadness, and loneliness, I really am doing okay. Update 4. I don't know if this is the conclusion to everything. I suppose that all depends on how my ex and my family decide to behave moving forward. If you don't know or remember my story, it's in my profile. It's long and tedious LOL. Just know that I left my husband, my family, and my religion. I do have an update to where I'm at right now though. I moved out of my coworker's sister's house. I got my own car, my own things, my own apartment. I also started and am still going to therapy. I'm so grateful and thankful to him and his sister. They are truly amazing people. I spent the holidays with all of them, and it was honestly the best holidays I've ever had. Even though I know I'm in a better place physically, mentally, and emotionally, it hasn't all been great and amazing. I felt tremendously lonely many days and nights. It doesn't make me want to go back to any of it, but it isn't always easy. I tried making some online friends, and it has been hit or miss overall. I think I might be ready to start dating, but I'm not sure if I am or how I'd even go about doing it yet. In the meantime, on Friday, to kick off my new life in the new year, I has given my finalized divorce papers. My husband hasn't tried to contact me since the first week when I left him. I haven't heard anything from or about him, so in the long run, I know I'm doing and did the right thing and the best thing for me, even though it's been hard and confusing at times. Update 5. I left him and my family and friends behind. I went no contact with everyone. I filed for divorce, moved, and started my life over. It was so hard. I knew it would be intellectually. I suppose I wasn't really ready for how hard it was going to be. I had help for big things like buying a car, finding an apartment, and moving all my stuff. But the crushing loneliness and temptation to give up and go back was especially trying. I was going to therapy, but I still felt alone and deeply depressed. I'm happy to say that I've worked really hard since I first left. I've gotten my life together in so many ways since, financially and emotionally. I feel so good about myself and my life right now. I'm seeing someone seriously for the first time. He's wonderful. No red flags. LOL. My job is fulfilling and amazing, and I've expanded my friend group. Update 6. I'm happy to report that it's been basically 1 year since I started the process of getting away from both, and oh my goodness, I could not be happier now. I have been happily living in my own, which admittedly was not so happy at first. I have a fully furnished apartment, my own car, my own friends, and essentially my own life. I'm even dating someone, casually for now, taking things slowly. And my job is paying for me to start grad school and take classes towards my master's. That's not to say my life is perfect. I do still sometimes miss my family, but I've surrounded myself with so many amazing and supportive people that those moments are short-lived.